Makes it as easy as possible to create job applications that recruiters can't ignore. Our online tool gives you instant access to resume and cover letter templates made by professional graphic designers and approved by recruiters. That means you give them what they want to see. Just log in, choose a layout, and start filling in the content. You can personalize the templates to your exact needs by adding or removing elements at will. Don't know what to include in your resume? No problem. Our blog gives you valuable tips on how to create a first-rate application. The online tool also makes suggestions to improve your layout and content as you work on it. It couldn't be simpler to produce an eye-catching job application with Novoresume. And the best part, you can access our professional resume builder at no cost. The basic features are available for free. Improve your chances of getting hired today. Sign up now and get started with Novoresume.
Hello everyone and welcome to a new webinar by Novoresume. Today we are going to talk about video interviews and cover letters. You've wrote us that you are interested in knowing more about how to write a cover letter and that you would be curious to know how to nail a video interview. So this is why we're here today. My colleague Andre Courtois and I will take you through the do's and don'ts of cover letter writing and video interviewing. If you have questions for us, remember that you can always use the chat. You can always check our career blog for more information, and we are always open to your feedback. So without further ado, welcome to today's presentation on how to nail a video interview. I'm Alexandra Ciobotaru, product manager here at Novoresume, and I'm also interested in personal branding, video interviewing. So today I'm here in order to share more insights and tips into video interviewing. Before that though, remember that we are the new way of building your resume and cover letter. Thank you so much for those of you who are Novoresume users and are sharing your feedback using our product. We're very happy to have you on board. We launched in February 2016, so 5 years ago. We have more than 5.7 million users worldwide, and we are very happy to welcome more of you joining on our journey. And our vision is to fight galactic unemployment. If you go on novoresume.com/career blog, we have a very long list of articles where we share research on best tips for career services. Now, today we are here to discuss video interviews. Video interviews are becoming a common practice in the interview process. We are in the midst of a pandemic, and obviously some of you already experienced that you were probably invited to join a video interview or a pre-recorded interview that I will also check on later in order to move forward in the application process. So this is becoming more and more popular indeed. And it's very important for that to ensure that you have the resources and technology available to ace that interview successfully. So what does that mean? It means that video interviews are very similar to in-person interviews, so you do need to be just as prepared and ready as you would be for an in-person interview. And I will share some of the tips on how to manage that. Let's go through the 5 steps of online interviewing. The first one would be to check your surroundings, equipment, conducting yourself like you're in person, conquering your body language, and ending strong. Now, I will go through each of those steps and I will give you my tips on how to successfully go through a video interview. Checking your surroundings. What does it mean? Now, the most important thing to know is that location is extremely vital in this situation. You need to understand that in a video interview, the hiring manager can see you, and they can also see the surrounding. So it's very important to be careful when you choose a location and to have some sort of setup where you know that it will be the right location for your interview. That means that you might require a background. It should be a plain color with no busy patterns that will be visually displeasing or distracting for the interviewer. If you have the possibility to buy a backdrop, I bought one on Amazon. That is also an option for you to consider. The location does need to be a quiet place, free from background noise and any potential distractions. Which takes me to disturbances. So remove your pet and remove any disturbances from the room, and never choose a public place like a coffee shop that will produce quite a substantial amount of background noise. Check the lighting ahead of time and stay away from windows that might create harsh shadows. What does that mean? It means that you shouldn't be basically with the back at a window, so you should be facing a window, because then the light will come on your face, and then you will not have this very strange setup where the interviewer cannot really see your face. So it's really important to consider lighting. If you are having an interview late, consider buying a light ring that you can also find on Amazon, in order to put that focus on your face and remove shadows from around you. Also, you want to showcase yourself the best way possible, and that includes making sure that you appear visible on camera and that your body is framed correctly with your shoulders in the frame. You should sit far away and so that your upper body is visible. And of course, you can keep your resume and notes close to you, but don't make a habit of always looking down, but rather look at the camera and look at the screen in general. The key of the video interview is to develop a personal connection with the person that is interviewing you, show that you are interested, and also that you are the best person for the job. So posture is also very, very important. What does it mean to prepare your equipment? The next step. So the next step is to check internet. Do you have a good internet connection? Do you have more people in the household that you're in? Can you make sure that if the internet is not stable, you can maybe go to a place where it would be? It makes a very big difference for an interviewer. It's something simple, but in the same time, it makes a very big difference. Video. Do you have a camera? Do you have a good video setup that you've created? Maybe consider that, because it does make a big difference. Try to test your video and your microphone before. So video and audio test. Try to go on some of the platforms that people use nowadays, like Google Hangouts, Zoom. They offer similar capabilities, and you will be able to test the setup that you have. Of course, the interviewer might also invite you for it on a different platform, but those capabilities are similar across all platforms. So really try to make tests and see that you have the proper account set up, that you have the proper sound and video on. The next thing is browser. Okay. What does that mean? It means that you want to close all the web browsers that might be using Wi-Fi, so they don't cause distractions or affect your connection. And lastly, position. You want to position yourself at eye level, so make sure that the video is in the center of the screen, that you look in the center of the screen, and that you have done maybe a test or two to see how that looks. It's really important to have the right setup to look at the hiring manager. Don't look down on them, don't look up on them, just ensure that your equipment is working. It's really a critical step, so really try to maintain that interest for making that work. The next step is to conduct yourself as an in-person interview. And what does that mean? The first thing is to dress appropriately for the position you are seeking. If the office you will be working in values professional attire, then you should consider wearing a suit for the video interview, or some sort of professional attire that you've seen it's popular within that industry that you want to work in. You really want to watch the interviewer for any visual cues. Sometimes when in a video setup, you might have some sort of continue sign, or this is taking a bit long, so try to wrap up your answer. Really look for those visual cues from the interviewer, because it is different and harder than in an in-person interview, but it doesn't mean that it's impossible to understand the visual cues. So really consider that. And definitely establish a connection, which means that this is your time to shine. So really try to show enthusiasm, articulate how you can be the best person for that job, really show your research. So this is the moment to establish that connection and really showcase to the hiring manager or to the interviewer that you are the best person for the job. Conquer your body language. So sit straight up with both feet on the floor so you look alert and professional. Keep your hands on your lap or on your desk and don't shake or sway. So don't do this. Maintain eye contact. Very, very important for establishing a connection. So really consider how you are behaving or how you are looking at the camera when you are in this situation. Practice talking to the camera in advance. So do that if you have the possibility. And as I've said, you could try it out with a friend or just preparing for the interview yourself. Express your passion for the position. So now it's time to share enthusiasm. Maybe not as excited as this gift, but definitely throughout the interview, express your passion for the position and try to seem alert. Ending strong. The way you end the video interview will set the stage for the next step, so make sure you will end on a high note. If you don't have the interviewer's email address, ask for it now so you can send a thank you note. So then after the interview, not immediately, but after a few hours, you can thank the interviewer for their time. You can recap on any high points of the discussion, and then you can restate your enthusiasm about taking the interview process to the next step. I do want to talk about pre-recorded videos as well, because I think those are becoming more popular as well. And sometimes this takes the form of an assignment. So it could be that you get an assignment to share a video, a pre-recorded video about why are you the best person for this position, why are you interested in this position. Maybe it can be very popular for internships. So let's recap a bit what is important here. Pre-recorded videos won't replace face-to-face interviews, so that means that in most cases this is just a step of the process. That means that you will do this pre-recorded video, and then you will have to do another video interview or face-to-face interview if it's possible at a later stage. So it will not replace the entire setup. Record in the right environment. You have plenty of freedom to decide where to record and how to do it. So really consider that and find the right interview and find the right environment for you. Practice, practice, practice. You have more than enough time, no matter what the deadline is, to actually practice, because it's not going to be live with an interviewer. So really take that time and practice what you're going to say in your pre-recorded video. Still do your research and be prepared, because even if you are pre-recording a video, you should still show that you've done, your homework, that you know what you're talking about, that you are the best person for that assignment or position that you're applying for, and stay calm while recording. That means that it might still be, you might still feel nervous, but it's really important to consider that this is really a great opportunity for you to shine, and if you practice, you will be more confident on what you're saying. Lastly, don't forget to follow up after you send the pre-recorded interview. You can email them a few days later, the team, ask for a follow-up, asking what are the next steps, reiterate your interest. Keep in mind though that following up is important, but too much, it can easily backfire. So maintain that idea and do 1 or 2 follow-ups max. Let's move on to the most common interview questions, because some of you said that you would want to know what are the most common interview questions, and we have a very, very good article written on this that I'm going to share in the chat. But before that, let's talk about what are the most common interview questions, and I selected 8 of them, and let's discuss them for a minute. Tell me something about yourself. In this question, the recruitment manager, they are not looking for the whole story of your life. They are looking for a pitch, which means this is usually the first question. So this is where you introduce yourself, and you need to make sure you answer something that is relevant for the position, and that you present yourself as the ideal candidate for the job. For example, you can follow the next point as it follows. Briefly introduce yourself, your name, how long have you been working as whatever profession you've had, what do you love about your job, what are your top 2-3 achievements that are relevant for the job that you're applying for. So try to sum up that in the introduction. The next step is, why did you decide to apply for this position? A very, very popular question, of course, because you want to share with the interviewer how you are passionate about that job and why you wanna work there, right? Job performance is directly linked with job satisfaction. So the happier you are about your position at the company, the more productive you'll be. So when you are asked this question, remember to include 2 things: what motivated you to apply for this position specifically, and why this company. Have you heard of them before? Have you done research? Do you know more about their company culture? Do you know more about them as a company, and you are really happy with the information that you find? So share that. The next thing, what are your biggest strengths and weaknesses? So those are 2 separate questions, but I put them together because I know that you will probably get one of them at least. So let's start with strengths. You found your strengths. You need to back up those strengths with situations that show how you have used it to benefit the job. So always have a case on each of the setup that you're sharing. When it comes to weaknesses, though, when you are asked this question, what the HR manager really wants to learn is that you are self-aware and that you know what your sticking points are. So the key here is to mention a weakness that's real, but not something that would get in the way of you doing your job. You wouldn't want to say you're bad at math if you're applying for an accountant position, or, it's also good practice to mention how you are working towards overcoming this weakness and realize how it affects you negatively. If you can, just balance it with a positive side effect. What do you know about this company and organization? When you are asked this question, you need to share what you have researched about the company and how you want to work in that company. So try to create that setup where you say, I have been researching your company, I've known about your company, I've been to an event back in the day with your company and I really liked it. So what do you know about the organization? Very important for the interviewer to know that you're interested in understanding what the company does and how it operates. The next step, why should we hire you? You can follow these 3 general points, how you are super passionate about working in that company and why, how your skills fit the requirement, and how you're going to help the community solve their existing problems. For example, improve a metric or set up a process and so on. The next thing is, what are you looking for from a new position? This is very linked with why should we hire you. So really consider what is your expectations from the role, note it down, and when you are asked this question, try to say that you want to progress in your career, evolve as a professional, and then say why. Because this comes as a natural transition from the question, why should we hire you? The next one is, what is the professional achievement you're most proud of? So this is the opportunity to showcase how your skills have helped in a past setup and how you would be able to apply those skills to a new position. This is your chance to shine through your impact. And lastly, do you have any questions for us? Yes, you always have questions for the interviewer. So very, very important. Other than showcasing the recruiter that you're really interested in working for them, this is your opportunity to really find out more about the ins and outs of the place. So, for example, you can use this opportunity to ask, how does a regular day look for you? What would you say are the biggest challenges a person in this position might face? What are the most important skills and qualities one must have to succeed in this position? So really try to understand what the interview is looking for, and use that opportunity to also showcase how you are interested in that position even more by asking the right questions. I really hope this was useful for you. I'm now open for the Q&As, so please feel free to write in the chat if you have any questions for me. And as always, I really invite you to join our career blog because we have very good information shared online that I'm sure it will benefit you all. Hello, everyone, and welcome again to our webinar. I'm tuning in from our Novoresume office. I'm very excited to see that you have questions for us, and I will try to answer them as much as possible. Remember that after this Q&A, we have the presentation on cover letters, so feel free to start preparing your questions after this for my colleague, Andre. So let's start with what Mohammed just asked. If you can sit on the ground to do the interview with low-level table. So I think that is not the best idea, to be fair. I think it's fair to say that when you sit on a chair, you also have a better posture. You put your feet on the ground, and it will also help you with focus. So I would really think that you should avoid that. Obviously, if this is the only setup, you can try to make a nice background behind you, maybe not showcase the fact that you are sitting on the ground, because I think that that can somehow impact the overall understanding of the recruiter on how much you've tried to set up the entire setup for the interview. So it can look a bit strange at times, depending on where you're interviewing or who is there to interview you. I know it's not sometimes the fairest thing, but it is something that happens. So please be aware of it. And I'm sure that if it is not a possibility for you, there are ways to mask that in a way so that you don't see that you are sitting on the ground. I really hope that helps. You also asked if now that the mobile cameras seem more clear than computer cameras, can we use our mobiles for interview? Well, in theory, yes, you can. So definitely it is something that you can use because some of the cameras are indeed more professional. However, I think you should be aware that if something goes wrong, you have way less freedom to do anything because it's a very small device that it might actually hinder the relationship you're trying to build with the recruiter. So I would say that if you have the possibility and if you feel comfortable with it, it would be better to use a computer. It also gives you a bit more you know more of a structure to have maybe a desk, a computer in front of you, a camera that you can arrange as you please. And I know maybe it's not as clear, but it will definitely make a difference if things don't go very well. Then if the phone breaks or it falls or something like that, it will maybe somehow impact your performance overall in the interview. So be aware of that as well. Another point that we had here is, should you send a thank you note a few days after or hours later? So I would always say that first you should always send a thank you note after an interview, no matter in which level of the application process you're in, because it really shows the recruiter that you are interested in the position and that you really want to showcase how you want to work with them. So definitely do that. I would also say that it really depends on the timing, because if it's late in the afternoon, I wouldn't send a thank you note after working hours. I don't think that's the best idea. I would say that send one the next day, send one after 2 days, thanking them for taking the time. Understand a bit about the hiring process. If you know that the hiring process is going to go fast, then send a thank you note a few hours or the next day. Latest, if you think that the hiring process will take a longer time, you can wait 2 days, 3 days, and then send a thank you note. Now, I want to say that no matter how you decide to send a thank you note, remember that during the interview, one of your last questions should be, what are the next step? How does the application process look like? What should I expect next? So be very straightforward for yourself to understand what you should expect, because it is also, of course, important for you to know what are the next steps. So remember to ask that in the interview. When we send unsolicited applications, so this is another question, they sometimes want to do a video interview just to see what we are like. Yes, so indeed, some recruiters and employers, they require you to send an introductory video, an introduction of yourself in a video format. In such situations, what should we share or not share? So I would definitely share the introduction. So who are you? Try to frame, as I said in the beginning, tell me something about yourself. Try to frame your story professionally, very linked with the position or company you are now in discussions with. So don't make it about your life story because it's too broad. So try to focus on why you are in the first place applying there and for what position. So try to frame it in that regard. Talk a bit about why are you interested to working with that company for that specific position. Focus a bit on framing yourself as the right profile for that position. Maybe talk a bit about your achievements and why do you think you would be a good fit, because you've had previous achievements in this role, and these were some of the results. Maybe share a bit of information. Don't share too many private details because it's not really the case. Don't share information about your current situation too much in details, because the interviewer, when they see this introductory video, they really want to understand who you are as a person, so they know if you fit the role that they are trying to hire for. So keep it focused on that function that you are trying to apply for. Try to keep it straight to that, because that's what the interviewer wants to know. And as a pro tip, recruiters and interviewers always want you to solve a problem for them. So if you already know, if you do some research for the company, about the company, if you know something about the company from your network peers, online research, try to say how you would solve problems in that setup. So really try to give value through this video presentation that you have the opportunity to share. There we go. Let's see another question. They're coming in very fast. Let's see. What is a question about the salary? How can we answer the question? What do you mean, Maria, by this? You mean when people ask you what are your salary expectations? If this is something that you are being asked, then the recruiter wants to know exactly where do you position yourself. So you should have a range, and you should be aware of the fact that if you give a range, sometimes the recruiter can go for the lower end. Sometimes they can go for the upper salary expectation that you've mentioned. So be aware that when you are asked this question, you can share a range that will be in sync with what you think it's a fair salary for you. And also, I think you should explain a bit why. So you can say that based on my experience and my research, I think my salary expectations would be in this range, and then give the number that you expect to share, and of course are ready to receive an offer on. How to know if you are accepted or rejected from the interviewer? Look or body language? Great question, Ahmed. So I think it really depends a bit on culture and where you at, but I generally think that when somebody is not really enthusiastic, it could be that they're tired, but it can also be that maybe you are not really giving specific argument or examples on what they want to hear. So maybe pick up on some of the cues. For example, if you are asked a question like, how do you think you fit for this role? And then you start on your first job, and then 5 minutes later you get to how you gather all of that experience for the role. Well, it could be a bit long. So try to prepare those questions before you are asked, and have straight to the point, value adding comments. Try to answer the question specifically, and also if you want, you can ask if there's anything more you want them to add about this question. And then you've answered the question, then you know that you can move on and go to the next question. Yes. Should we leave out some jobs if our resume is too long? Yes, Thomas. So I think if your resume is too long and you are really tailoring towards a specific industry, you should definitely leave out jobs that are not necessarily in sync with that in that industry. Try to make it easy for the recruiter to understand how you fit. And for example, if you have an internship, or if you've worked for a year in a company on a different industry that maybe you weren't really in sync with either, then you can skip that and then in case it becomes a question, really being honest about what happened, if you had to take time off, or if you've decided to move on to another industry and you decided not to put that job there. So there are different ways of tackling this. I'm actually going to share some links for you after this Q&A with some very nice articles on our career blog. Should we make pauses while talking? Yes, I think you should definitely, make a pause in between your different answers, and try to appear calm. I know it's not easy, but it really makes a difference. Can we ask the interviewer to send the results of the interview soon? I think you should definitely be mindful of the interviewer as well.
How to perfect your cover letter for 2021. My name is Andrei Courtouy, and I'm the CCO and co-founder here at Novoresume. The agenda for this presentation will be the following. We'll start with the definition of a cover letter and why is it still important for 2021 in order to apply for jobs. Then I will show you the structure of a cover letter. Then we'll go through the process of professional cover letter writing step by step. Then at the end, I'll share with you the cover letter checklist that we actually have in our ebook that you can download from here, or you can find it in the footer of our website if you watch this webinar at a later stage, or if it's saved in your email, you can find it on our homepage in the footer. And at the end, we'll also have a live Q&A. So make sure to put all your questions in the chat, and I will try to cover as many as possible at all the classic job ads that at the end, that in the end have this sentence, to apply for this job, send your resume and cover letter at hiring@novoresume.com, for example. But you need to think of a cover letter as a supplement to your resume, because a cover letter is not going to get you hired on its own. But if your resume is a maybe, then your cover letter could actually turn that into a yes. And you will get hired like way faster. But you need to remember to tailor each cover letter and each resume for each specific job if you want to increase your chances exponentially. So the structure of a cover letter, every good cover letter needs the following sections in the structure. So we start with the contact details at the top in the header. Then we go with the hiring manager and or the department information that you apply to for the job. Then we have the opening paragraph. Then we continue to the body, which is the most important part of the cover letter. And here you want to address your major achievements. How will you help them solve the problem, the current challenge that they have? Because you need to remember that when a company posts a job, it means that they have a problem or a challenge, and you need to address in your cover letter how will you help them solve that problem or challenge. Then you also need to explain why you are the right person for that specific job and not the other 50 or 100 candidates that apply. Then you need to have a closing paragraph. Here it's good to have a call to action usually. And at the end, of course, we have a formal salutation. Then we go to the first step in writing a professional cover letter. And the first thing that goes on your resume, on your cover letter is the header, as we mentioned before. And this includes the following information. You would have your email and phone number. These are crucial. Make sure all the time to double, triple check this, because if you have an unprofessional email address, this can actually really hurt your chances of getting the job. As well, if you have a typo in your email or your phone number, the hiring manager might not be able to contact you even if you were the perfect person for that job. Then you need also to remember to list your location. Even though nowadays, like lots of companies hire people remotely, it's still important for them to know your location due to time zone differences. An important part is also to list your LinkedIn. This really helps. Your cover letter and resume needs to be tailored for one specific job, but your LinkedIn should be more general. And the recruiters usually, after reading your resume and cover letter, they would probably check your LinkedIn as well, or other professional social medias. As well, here you can include other professional social medias, as here I included Twitter, because this is like a fictive cover letter that we wrote for our career blog, where this person is a VP in finance and operation, and she probably uses Twitter professionally, as many people at that level do. And in the header as well, in the left part, you want to include who is this cover letter addressed to, like the name of the hiring manager, the department or their position as well, the name of the company and the address of the company. This is extremely important when you apply to big companies, let's say Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, Google, Airbnb that have offices all around the world. And you don't want to stress the hiring manager. You need to make sure to ditch the usual dear sir or dear madam and address them by their name instead. This will show them that you really look and you really care about this position and this job ad. If you don't find, usually you will find their name in the job ad at the end of the job ad. You will see that if you have any questions or if you need more information about this position, you can send an email or you can call this person. And in most of the cases, that person would be the person that's responsible for hiring. So it's good to assume that then you can address the cover letter to their name. If you don't find their name there, you can go actually on LinkedIn and you can put the name of that company and then find that the exact department. So if you're applying for a digital marketing specialist, let's say in a company, you would go on LinkedIn and you would search who's actually hiring manager or who's CMO or head of marketing for that company. Because if it's a small company, that it would mean that they will be the ones hiring or responsible. Then the third step is to grab the recruiter's attention in your introduction. And a good introduction includes the following. I included here a professional example, and you can see that you need to start with your goal. This is the goal. This is your goal of applying for this company, that you want to help company X with their expansion to the UK. That's the goal of your cover letter application. Then you need to address your profession and years of experience. And here you can say that I have over 6 years of work experience as a business development manager. It's really good to address how many years of experience you have and not let them assume, because in most of the job ads you will see that they say that we are looking for someone with 5+ years of relevant experience as a business development manager, let's say like that. And if they say 5+, if you already have 6, that's really good, and you won't let them assume and actually go to your CV and calculate how many years you have on those two positions and etc., etc. So these will save them lots of time, and they will for sure appreciate it. Then the last thing that should be mentioned in your introduction to get their attention is mentioning 1 or 2 of your most important achievements. Like in the following example, that I've helped company X open a new office in Berlin, and also I established partnerships with, let's say, 10+ local distribution centers. So if this company is looking to expand in the UK, your previous experience that you already opened an office for a company in another country and you also established really fast partnership will be really valuable, and they will for sure look more into your profile and of course call you for an interview. The fourth step is to show them that you're the right person, and you do this in the body section of your cover letter, as I mentioned before. Because this is like the biggest and the most important section, it's usually divided into 2 parts. And part 1, this addresses like how are you a good skill fit, and also how do your skills help the company. Usually in each job ad you will see that they need these specific skills, that this job has the following requirements, and these are the skills that you need for the company. And you need here in the cover letter, you will need to kind of complement it with your resume. You take the skills that you listed on your resume, and then here you explain how those skills will help this specific company solve the challenge or the problems that they currently have. And then the second part, which is really important as well. Usually these 2 parts go 50-50 nowadays. You need to address why do you want to work for them specifically, for this exact company, and also what do you like about them. Is it their mission that you like, that resonates with your mission in life? Is it their product and service? Have you been a fan of their products for like 10 years and it was your dream to work for this company? Or is there organizational structure, organizational culture? There are so many people that want to work for specific companies because they heard from friends or family, or they saw it somewhere that this, it's so cool to work at that company. Everyone seems to have fun. They get well together. They create amazing products and services. And I would love to be part of that company to help them on their mission. And these you can address in the second part of your cover letter, all the points that I just mentioned. You need to make a balance between the two parts. And I will show you a bad example and a good example of the body, like introduction and body, or mostly body. And here you can see that is the following example: that, dear sir or madam, my name is Josh and I'd love to join your delightful organization. As a project manager, I can help ensure that company X carries out its projects from start to finish with minimal issues along the way. I really like company's X product line and I believe that it's very groundbreaking and innovative. I'd love to be part of the company that has such a large focus on innovation and improvement. This is a bad example because it's actually too general, because all projects manager will want to help company carry their projects from start to finish. This paragraph can be included for any project manager position. And the same goes for the second paragraph, where we mentioned that we believe the company is groundbreaking and innovative, because nowadays all the company believe that they are groundbreaking or innovative. And innovation became in some parts as a buzzword, so it's overly used, and so it will not really help you mentioning this. Instead, you want to have the body structure as follows. With having this good example, this can be used. You can use it as inspiration. This can be used as a template, actually, because it can be adjusted to many jobs or positions. You can mention that in your previous role, you handle what was your main responsibility, and again, like as I mentioned before, tailor this to the problem that they currently have. In case that over the years that you have worked there, you have managed or include your top achievements. And then mention some of your top 3 to 5. What are your top skills and expertise, and how do you have the experience in that skills that will actually help them solve the problems or the challenges that they have at the moment. And then you can also say and mention that you believe that your previous work experience and skills set would help me become a valuable member within the company as well. And then you can give other reasons that you've been a fan of their product, you know everything that they've done, so there's no need for them to introduce you to their products or services. This would be a huge add-on. Then the fifth step in writing a professional cover letter is wrapping it up, and in the last paragraph you should include the following. You should summarize your main point. For example, so in short, I believe that my skills as a project manager could really help company X with, and then you go solving the problem or challenge that they have. And you need to finish the cover letter with the call to action. This is really important. For example, here, if you think we are a good match, I'd love to discuss how can I help you. Can we schedule an interview next week or in 2 weeks, or when would be the best for me to call you? And of course, when you end your cover letter, you want to include a formal closing, a formal salutation, and for example, here are best regards, all the best, sincerely, and thank you, or yours truly. And there are other examples as well. Now, what I wanted to mention is that we have a free ebook that you can download, as I mentioned before, where we have a special chapter that covers more topics, including how to write a resume, how to match your cover letter with your resume, how to nail your job interview. And also we covered in this year the remote work, because more and more companies are hiring remotely nowadays. But what I want to mention here about the ebook is that in the second chapter, this is dedicated to matching your cover letter with your resume, and it goes more in depth and includes even more examples that the one I just covered. And the most important thing about it is when you finish your cover letter, we have included here a cover letter checklist that's interactive. And after you wrote your cover letter, you need to make sure that you go through all the checks and you cover all of them in order to make sure that you have a professional cover letter. And also here we have included 3 convincing cover letter templates that you can actually use for inspiration. These are we have one for students, one for mid-level professional, and one for senior professional. We recommend you to adapt and tailor it for your needs and job, and also your industry and the country you're applying for. So all the time adjust it to your needs. And I want to show you here for an example on how you can do it on Novoresume, because we divided the sections as I mentioned before. This is the example that I was using. The date is automatically set to the date you're writing the cover letter, so it's really helpful. Don't mind the line here. This is just for you to help keep the text within the lines, and also like considering the margins that you should have, so you don't have to stress about it, because we have taken that into consideration. But these lines will not appear in the final PDF. As I can show you, after you press download, you can see that you have here your professional cover letter that you can just send and apply for jobs with it. And also here you can see that you can switch the template, and we have, for all resume templates, we have the same cover letter template, because it's really important to have them in the same style, and you can make sure that you will use, for example, the same font. And we also created the same color themes for both resumes and cover letters. So you will be sure that you will have a really professional job application. So these were the main things that I wanted to cover, and we will go now through the live Q&A that I mentioned before, where I will try now to cover as many of your questions as possible. Hello everyone, and thank you for your attention to the presentation. As I mentioned before, I will go now through your question, and meanwhile you can download the ebook in the chat. You will see it at the top at Job Seeker Odyssey ebook 2021. You can just click on it and download the PDF from there, or at any time you can go on our homepage on our website, and you can find it in the footer, and you can just download it from there. So some of the questions that you asked, one of the questions was, is it fine to address them generically, dear recruiter? No, that is not fine, because usually it's not recruiters that hire. Recruiters actually will help you to apply for jobs at different companies. So you actually should write dear and the hiring manager, because not the recruiter will not be the person that will hire you for that position. So remember, as I said before, if you don't know the name, you should just write dear hiring manager, if you have no clue at all. But usually if you're using a recruiter to apply for jobs, you should actually ask them if they know the name of the hiring manager to help you when you're writing your cover letter. Another question was, as I'm a fresh graduate, shall I highlight my areas of interest in the specific industry in the cover letter? We said yes, you should also write how your studies or your hobbies, your interest, your personal project that you have done, or all the extracurricular activities, the courses that you have done, how are they related to the industry and to the job that you're applying for, and how all those areas of interest will help actually the company solve their issues. And another question was, what is the main use of a cover letter? Because the CV explains everything to them. No, the CV does not explain everything to them. As I mentioned before in the presentation, your CV will actually mention the skills and your past experience, but the cover letter will actually top that. And there you should explain how your skills that you mentioned in your CV, how are they gonna help them fix their problems, and also go more on tailor it more to your personality and their mission and values, as was mentioned before. And the question was that, as a fresh graduate, what can I include in my cover letter? If you're a fresh graduate or otherwise do not have a lot of work experience, you can highlight some of your transferable skills in your cover letter. And you should also provide evidence from project, classes, volunteer work that demonstrated the skills that you have. And also we got questions before the webinar also about general tips and tricks. And I will go now through some of them. That remember that whenever possible, you should include numbers to show the value that you have added in previous companies that you worked for. This is important in your CV or resume, but also in your cover letter, as I showed in the examples and as you can see in the examples on our website. It's really important to remember to don't point out what you're missing, actually. Some people do that, but generally you should not apologize for anything in your cover letter, because there are some things that you don't need to include in the cover letter. And if you lack a required skill or a degree, don't mention that they're in the cover letter, because that will highlight only what you don't have and they will remain fixated on that. Instead, you should focus on highlighting your skills and experience that you have and explain how that would make you a great fit for the job. Because for any job position, there's no person that fits 100% everything that's written in the job ad. Most of the people probably they will fit between 50 and 80, but they will have other skills that will help. And also the company, usually they will help you and they will train you for the skills that you do not possess. And also remember that all the time to read, for example, after you wrote your cover letter, read it out loud in order to make sure that you have no mistakes. Because hiring managers, they look at hundreds, probably like some days, like dozens or hundreds of cover letters. And if you have a small typo, that can make or break your chances to get an interview. As I mentioned before, also make thoroughly proofread your cover letter, and also all your application materials, for that matter, your CV as well, the email that you send application, everything that you can proofread it and make sure you have no mistakes. Also, another tip that's really important, remember to send your cover letter and resumes as attachment correctly, name them correctly, like I would name mine unrecruited cover letter for this position, and also the same with the resume. And include all the information requested so your message is read, because you will see in most of the job ads or positions, they will require some information. And usually they will say that if you want to apply for this position, you can apply here on the website, you can upload your documents, or they will say, send your cover letter and CV at this email address. And there you will just write your introduction, and you can say that you are applying for this position that you saw on this website. And here you can find attached to this email the documents that they requested. And one last and very general tip would be to not use a boilerplate cover letter, like a cover letter that you use for all the job position you're applying for and you just change the name. Whatever you do, don't write just one and swap the names of the company. You need to personalize your cover letter for each job you're applying for, because the recruiters will see that and they will notice it really fast if you only have one cover letter, because it's not going to be tailored for that specific company and their specific needs. So I will go now through the chat as well to see if there were any other questions, sorry. And yeah, as I mentioned before, don't use a generic template for the when they ask your weaknesses and strengths. Alexandra's attached before a blog article, but I can write that as well after. What to extract from the job application to add to the resume to be more likely to be accepted. You can most of the times you can see the main skills and some keywords that they are searching for, and try to see like what are the skills and best achievements or past experience that you have, and make sure you mention all of those. And the same goes with your education. If they ask for a specific education, make sure that you write, for example, that education. And yes, so these were all the things that we could cover for this webinar. Hope you were happy and you found this information useful. And please let us know in the chat if you have any other any other topics or any other things that you would like us in the future to cover in our webinars, because we would be more than happy to actually do future webinars with the information that you can actually find useful. Yeah, thank you everyone, and have a nice day.